All right, so Aziz, we're on 3162. There's not a lot there. I'm going to move on to the next one, and then you can read along with us.
Okay.
Here we go. So Surah 3163, Asahi International. They are varying degrees in the sight of Allah, and Allah is seeing of whatever they do. Yusuf Ali. They are in varying gardens in the sight of Allah. Allah sees well what they do. So obviously you're just coming into it at the moment, and that sort of sentence just sort of hangs in midair. So let's just see. There are degrees of...
This is for the prophets.
Is that what it is? Have you got the other book there, Stops?
Because it says the prophet cannot take more of the spoils of war than he's entitled to. Okay, that was 161. And that is da-da-da. And then 162 is one who pursues God's pleasure, the same as one who incurs wrath from God. So for me, they're still talking about the prophets, unless they're now talking about the general Muslim.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead there.
It doesn't necessarily mean that one verse is related to the previous verse or the preceding verse always. It doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
But we've got to try and find out what it does relate to here. I mean, if you were reading a lot of these,
I have is always going like 2 or 3 up, 2 or 3 down. Just to see if there's any kind of context.
That's helpful. Yeah, you can see where it sort of fits in there. He says those who leave this. This is Ibn Abbas. This is the tafsir of 3163. Those who leave deceit have different ranks with Allah in paradise, but those who deceive will occupy different levels in hell, and Allah is seer of all that you do, whether it is deception or other things. Al-Jalalain. No, there are degrees, that is, individuals of different degrees before God, that is, belonging to various stations. For those that follow his beatitude, a reward for those who are laden with God's anger, punishment, and God sees all that they do. So this is also talking about, presumably, then this is also talking about that not everybody goes to, if I understand this correctly, and you guys can come in and comment here, that are there different levels in hell and different levels in heaven then, as opposed to one?
The heaven thing, there are clearly different heavens, because when Muhammad went on the winged horse to heaven, he spoke to different levels with each different prophets guarding the door of each level of heaven. However, in my experience, I've only ever heard of one hell, but with varying degrees of punishment in that one abode.
What's your understanding, Aziz?
My understanding about this verse, it seems like it's a Medina verse, because it seems like it's speaking to a group of Muhammad's followers. I got that idea from reading a few verses, like 10 verses past and 10 verses ahead of the current verse.
Yeah,
and it seems like it's speaking to the Muslims, and when the Muslims were coming into the fold of Islam or the guidance of Muhammad, many of them were bringing their belief systems, and so it seems like it's an answer to some of the new Muslims, and they had a belief that God may not be able to see everything. So this is a reply from the all-seeing God that in fact he does see everything.
Yeah, Maududi is talking about this being an answer to the suspicion of the archers about the honesty of the Holy Prophet in regard to the division of spoils. When they saw the companions plunder the enemy, the archers feared that the former would get the whole of the spoil and they would be deprived of it at the time of division, just because they had not taken part in the plunder. This is why they spontaneously deserted their post. When later on they put forward some lame excuses, they were not accepted. Then the Holy Prophet said, the real thing is that you did not trust in me. You suspect that I would deal dishonestly with you and not give you the same share. So that's Maududi's sort of take on this.
That's for the Battle of Uhud, right? That's for the Battle of Uhud?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Is that the direct tasfir from his opinion for 3?
Yeah, one. That's 161 to 164. That was Maududi. But the other Ibn Abbas, Jalalain, Kashani, etc. They normally do verse by verse. So they're literally talking about one verse. Ibn Kathir and seems like Maldudi will take a number of verses together and then try and give an explanation of, say, 3, 4, or 5 verses.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. Yeah, when I read that without reading the Tasfir, the first thing that strikes me is it comes like a rebuttal when I'm reading the verse without the Tasfir. There are varying degrees in Allah's sight, especially when you hear it in Arabic. To me, when I hear it in Arabic, it sounds like a rebuttal to me. So if there was accusations that Prophet Muhammad wasn't being fair with the spoils of war, then it's interesting that this would be considered a rebuttal, because it's almost like, where is your evidence to accuse the Prophet? The only person who has knowledge of the unseen is God. So, it seems like a rebuttal to me to those who accuse.
If it's a rebuttal, then why is this rebuttal in a book which is for all time? I mean, whichever direction you go in as far as time concerned, forward or backward, the Quran is eternal. So why would this ayah be in the Quran? Surely this is a matter to be discussed in the Hadith and nothing to do with the Quran.
Well, Hadith explains. Tasfir explains Quran, and Hadith is narrations that are not in the Quran. The Quran, how it was recorded and preserved, should be viewed more as a historical book of set events for a group of people, right? But
what?
I was just going to say, why would an eternal book, which is for all mankind, that has been sitting by Allah for all eternity, if it's just a historical book, then why does it only ever have a relevance for the 20 years that Muhammad was a prophet?
Okay. Well, first you got to understand that the Quran in the time of Muhammad is Muhammad. Okay, because
the Quran is Muhammad.
Yes, the Quran is Muhammad's life. It's his experience. It is essentially him. Okay.
But, Aziz, there is nothing in the Quran about Muhammad. Nothing.
Yeah, but it's everything. Well, where do we get the Quran from? We get it from Muhammad.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, but the narration is it comes from Muhammad, and it comes from Muhammad through interactions with the Sahaba and the infidels, right? And it is the preceding generations of Muslims who went back and recorded the Quran and preserved it as it is now. So this is what we're looking at. And
but you're not answering the question that Thunderous just asked.
Well, how is this particular verse pertaining to eternal wisdom? How is this particular verse pertaining to eternal wisdom? From the perspective of a Muslim, there are varying degrees in Allah's sight, because we believe that the Supreme Lord of the universe can see everything, right? So this verse, it conforms with our ideas of God, and anything less wouldn't be a God worthy of worship, would it be? I don't think
but
so.
We've just heard this 50 million times. In every third sentence, we see the same thing.
But you've just said a lot of things there, Aziz, that with respect, you've said something, but you've really showed nothing. Or you've shown
exactly. Because if you go, they certainly occupy different ranks, or they have varying degrees in the sight of Allah. And then you read the tafsir for this, and it says, well, there were 15 archers, and these 15 archers were feeling a little bit depraved, and then they came and complained, and the other 68 and a half, and the one was 15 years old, and he didn't count, and then the oldest one was 62, and then they put him up as a spokesman, and then he came and did, and he complained about it. So you're going into details that are nowhere to be found. How is this in any degree or any way, any kind of a guidance for a human being today?
And can I just add on to that as well, if you don't mind, that when you consider the position of the Quran in Islamic life, and just going on with what Stops is saying there, that you've got the tafsirs, which are commenting on this verse some 200 years, 400 years later. They can only go by the Isnad recital and whatever Quran they had access to at the time. So the source of the information for you to get your background is somewhat spurious and made up, because you can read two or three different tafsirs and come up with two or three historical different narratives as a conclusion of what the ayah is trying to say. So when you say that this is a historical book, it doesn't sit right with what we know about what the tafsirs are saying about this historical book. Because you can have one situation and have 3 or 4 tafsirs give 3 or 4 different answers. And then when you're looking about the arguments between the archers and Muhammad and the spoils of war, if they're fighting for Allah, surely the spoils of war are the least concern for them. They're not fighting for Allah just to get some bounty out of it, or some booty, or some wages. They're fighting for Allah surely because it's the truth and the right thing to do. So why is there an ayah in the Quran for all eternity, backwards and forwards, about archers arguing over their wage?
I know. I get what you're trying to say. It may seem frivolous and convoluted explanation for to me, a very simple verse, but I mean, this goes to, the context of Muhammad and the Sahaba's exploits. They did bicker over these things. They bickered over like small things too, but I mean, to me, that just shows you, there is a real human experience behind this whole revelation. That is not just, like I don't know, angels from the sky. It's a real human experience in the desert, in the life of Muhammad, between city states and personalities and groups. I mean, to me, that's compelling from that perspective. I mean, maybe it doesn't satisfy your perspective of divine perfection.
But what I unlike my co-host, I respectfully put to you that I actually do believe in a God. That's irrelevant. So I understand the perspective that you're trying to come with. Now my question would be then, going along with what you're saying, why aren't you a Mormon? What's the difference between you becoming a Muslim, or say stopping being a Muslim and becoming a Mormon then? If it's because it relates to a man, it's human being thinking, you can see the wisdom behind that. You can derive the same benefits from the Book of Mormon.
I don't think so. I don't think you can derive the same benefits from the Book of Mormon. I think I would derive more benefits from the Book of Taoism than the Book of Mormon. So that's not even a fair comparison. To me, you may see it the same, but I do not see it.
No, but both men met angels that nobody saw. Both men had messages that nobody saw them have. Both men claim to have miracles that nobody saw. Both men said they can have 4 wives each.
No.
There's a lot between them.
Look, the word miracle.
Both of those men, you have to take them at their word. So when you're saying that there's more Taoism, no, when you're looking at the Book of Mormon and Muhammad, you're actually seeing a lot more in common than that maybe you're explaining yourself.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
But anyway, coming back to the point, coming back to the point of this ayah, you're seeing an argument between archers getting their wages. What I don't understand is, surely if you're fighting for Allah and being a part of that army for Allah would be more important than the amount of money you're going to get out of it. I don't see the benefit in that.
Okay, I mean, how would you run a campaign? You cannot run a campaign off faith alone.
All the other religions in the past did.
No, name one.
Judaism.
They ran an army off faith alone.
Yes. Have you not read the Torah like you're supposed to as a Muslim?
I have read the Torah, but I know that you go on military. I know.
That's the whole point of miracles. The whole point of the miracles were for them to have faith in their God.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you're mistaken, 100%. Because if you do anything, then wait. I don't want to get into this, but I'll get into something else similar. If you want to do anything, it requires some type of expenditures, whether it's caloric or monetary. So if people are running off the fat reserves in their body, and they're squabbling over, can we eat some food so we can continue what we need to do, or they're arguing over actual coinage so they can continue their military exhibitions for whatever objective that they deem worth fighting for. I mean, you still need, you need to have a system of payment and reward to manage any enterprise that is going to produce anything of any tangible result.
Okay, so in effect, what you're saying is then that the only reason that these men were fighting for Allah was what they're going to get out of it, not because it was the true thing to do or the right thing to do. So you're saying then,
no,
to be a Muslim,
most definitely within the narration in Muslim sources, there was a group of people that was solely motivated by monetary gain, in the midst of people who were truly motivated by righteous gain. Now, in the Quran, there is many distinctions and differentiations about these people within the life of Prophet Muhammad. So within that backdrop, you still need the basic understanding of rudimentary economics to run any military campaign. Like, just because a group of people say that they're divinely inspired by the word of God and they raise an army, all of a sudden makes them illegitimate? Why? No, to me that doesn't. Why? Because they're willing to trade. No, hold up. They're willing to trade in the marketplace. They're willing to tax people that they have subjugated. All of a sudden, their message is illegitimate.
I'm going to conclude on this point because I'll leave you with this point, and then we can move on. 123,999 prophets have gone before Muhammad, and in whether you accept scripture or not, in any holy writing, we do not find an account like this where people are bickering over money and fighting for God. I'll leave it there.
Hold up. If we take a look at Judaism, and the people who follow Jewish scripture, when they conquered the land of Canaan, not only did they massacre the inhabitants of Canaan, they taxed the subjects.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, well, I look forward to you finding me that verse. I look forward to you finding
that verse. No, I'm telling you what happened, and you can find it.
Then don't talk about it. Back it up with evidence. Don't just
hold up. Thunderous one. You honestly believe that Judaism or Jewish people, when they conquered Canaan, they didn't exact tribute from their neighbors who were not.
No, they
believe that.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
You do not believe that. Okay, all right, hold up.
They didn't.
Let's not go there. We're not here to critique.
That's why I said I want to stop the conversation on that point. That it seems that Allah, people are only fighting for Allah for what money they can get out of it. No,
you're wrong. There's people who fight for money, regardless if they're doing it for Allah or environmentalism or any political bullshit. There's always going to be people who are
this
going
is God.
for money.
This is God. You're saying that God hires mercenaries then?
God hires mercenaries? I don't think God needs to hire anybody.
Like these archers are talking like mercenaries.
They're bickering over something.
Like mercenaries.
Yeah, that me and you deem frivolous. I wouldn't bicker over money.
Like mercenaries. So Aziz,
at the same time, nobody does anything for free.
People do it for God. They do. People will do. You're talking about the ecosystem. People go and parade and protest about the ecosystem, abortion, people locked up in prisons when they shouldn't be. They do it for free. So your point is lost on that. We've got evidence all around the world. Amnesty International, the Red Cross. How many charities do you want me to name where people sacrifice their own time and their own assets?
Yes, there's many people.
And yet your mercenaries. They want to charge God for acting for him.
No, you're wrong. Because there's many Muslims and non-Muslims who believed in Muhammad's cause, and they gave everything they owned.
Apart from these mercenaries.
But Thunderous, hang on a moment, Aziz. Okay. But Thunderous, a question for you. I mean, at best or at worst, depending on how you look at it, all that somebody could argue is that these were bad Muslims, right?
But they're acting for God, and it's in the Quran for all time.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, again, a Muslim could just say, "Hey, this is an example of bad Muslims." So I'm showing you this. This is something that I put in the Quran
Allah's
for
not
all
saying
time
that.
as an example to show bad Muslims.
But
these are
Allah,
not.
Allah's not saying that. The tafsir's not saying that. The hadith are not saying that. You're saying that now, 1400 years away from the event, having to try and clean this mess up.
No, that's not
Allah is the best communicator. He chooses a prophet that's supposed to be the best communicator with eloquent speech and everything, and nobody seems to make head or tails of what this situation is.
No,
We're having to make it 1400 years later, try and make sense of it.
Yeah, I'll let you continue, Rob. You want?
Yeah, well, I just but that's fine. Somebody could just say, okay, whatever they may not have known it, or let's put it in there as they could ad hoc give an explanation which just says, hey, the reason it's in here is because he wanted to show this lesson of these bad Muslims who were brought about, they had his wrath because they were going after the booty, right, instead of just doing it for the glory of Allah. So these are, quote, bad Muslims, and here he is rebuking them, right?
So why isn't the tafsir saying that? Why isn't Muhammad saying that? Why isn't Allah saying that? By saying, look at this example of them, they're not fighting for me, all they're interested in what they can get out.
This goes into Islamic literature. I mean, there's commentary on the commentary as well. I'm pretty sure I'm not the first person to say what I'm saying on this internet broadcasting. So I think you're slightly misinformed, Thunderous.
What is he misinformed about, though? What is he misinformed about exactly?
Well, I think he's misinformed because he demands a certain purity from Islamic sources, but even these Islamic sources themselves say during the course of Prophet Muhammad, he was dealing with these types of people.
Okay, but what is he uninformed about, though?
I mean, the whole chapter of Al-Munafiqeen, which means the hypocrites, is individuals like this, is rebuking individuals like this. And I think this is a prelude to the chapter of Al-Munafiqeen, which rebukes them.
Okay. I want to exit from this conversation because I think it's got to the point where no one's going to be satisfied. But I would like.
I'm okay. I think we did very well. We can go on to the next verse, but
sure.
all
right, let's move on then.
Yeah.